Hello, everyone. I am Shruti Khanna, the Director for Global Accounts at Bridge Education, and I'm super excited to start my day with Miss Eela Dubey. She is the co-founder and the CEO of EduFund. She co-founded EduFund with Arindam Gupta. Eela has a degree in political science and French from NYU. She began her career in finance, gaining expertise in investment and business, and very, very excited to speak to her today about EduFund. Also, EduFund and Bridge Education have partnered or collaborated together. We will be trying our best to help students with their financial solutions, especially the partner universities that Bridge Education works closely with. So, Eela, welcome. Welcome to this conversation. Really excited to speak to you today morning.
Thank you, Shruti. Thanks for having me. It means a lot.
Great. So, Eela, just going to go through, a certain segment of questions, wanting to know more about you, more about EduFund, more about how we can help students attain their financial independence for their further education. Yeah.
Sure.
Great. So, Eela, I want to start by asking your experience. And in your experience, how do you think students abandon their plans for international education due to lack of funding?
Great question. And I would say that's our reason to exist effectively is to really help and empower parents, to financially plan for their children's education and to help students get access to affordable loans so that they don't have to compromise on their dreams. But to your point, we come across more than a few thousand students every year that unfortunately do have to sacrifice their dreams, especially to go abroad simply because their parent didn't save enough, they didn't have enough collateral for a loan. And all of this unfortunately does have, larger repercussions, which means the child or the student has to put their ambitions on pause. One of the core elements of our business is to help parents invest and save for their kids' future so that later they've safeguarded that education, right? So there is no compromise. But one of the things that's so interesting in terms of the narrative I come across with some of these families is this entire idea of, aage chal ke dekhenge. Like, ho jayega, right? Like it will happen inevitably by
Yeah,
the time my kid's ready to go to college. And then we come across parents that are on the further side of this journey when
yeah.
their kids are 16, 17, 18 plus and they actually are ready to go abroad and they realized, oh, I didn't know I needed this much collateral for a loan. I didn't think that the cost would be X, crores to send my kid abroad. And so then these are shocks and they realize they are unprepared, right? So for us, we see these stories, unfortunately, all the time, but definitely a narrative we're working to change as best as we can.
Great. Yeah, I totally understand. I think it's a very parent perspective where they kind of keep procrastinating uh the whole concept of really saving for their child. So I think this really comes at the right time with international education really becoming the top priority for so many Indian parents. I think this really, really comes at the right time. On
Yes.
that, sorry, go on.
No, I was saying I completely agree. And I think the whole concept of going abroad is becoming the India Bharat story, right? A lot more families, especially from middle income, tier two, tier three backgrounds, are opening up their eyes to the fact that this is a possibility for
Yeah.
them. But again, the unfortunate flip side to that is really the underestimation of cost and how much that is going up every year, that too in dollar or for foreign currency terms, which families are not aware of because they don't do, adequate due diligence. So, if you have that aspiration, which I think is fantastic, make sure you're doing your proper research, before.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thank you, Ela. That really takes me to my next question to really understand more about EduFund. How do the services operate? Could you just elaborate on the services and offerings of EduFund?
Yes, absolutely. So we call ourselves a one-stop solution for everything education financing plus, because we have a few additional services that we help families with. But really, the crux of what we do is to bring this entire financing ecosystem under one umbrella, which I mentioned earlier. A big part of our business is investing. So giving parents exposure to financial assets such as Indian mutual funds or foreign investments, now FDs, which we just recently launched, so that if Shruti is a mother, she is creating that nest egg or that small kitty every month, and that investment grows and compounds. So that becomes the safety net. But in addition to that, because we realize that all plans are different and no plan looks the same, we look at other options that a family would need, from education loans abroad to scholarships as well. And so we say no two plans are going to look the same. Maybe Shruti has 40% savings and needs 60% loans. We bring that, together and we personalize that plan for you. And we work with some of the largest banks and NBFCs to help students get, low interest education loans. We work with all the top mutual fund companies in India. So we are, a partner to all of these institutions to really, in my view, make a parent and student's life much easier for the whole financing journey.
Great. And I think this really resonates well with Bridge Education, because as an organization, we also believe in personalization and tailor making plans. So
Yes.
yeah, really, really excited to, hear about this side of services that are provided by EduFund. On another note, maybe on a personal note, what was your motivation or inspiration to start EduFund?
I think it was both personal and professional. On the personal element, you know, going to NYU was not a cheap affair by any means.
Yeah.
So having that personal firsthand experience that 14 years ago, college education could cost $250,000 was a huge, huge
Yeah.
surprise to my parents, right? And so, like so many students today, I did the whole loans, I did the whole scholarships, I had some savings, and I worked all throughout college. And that's a very raw reminder that yes, education very much is a privilege. And if it's a privilege that you are lucky enough to have, there's a realistic, expensive price tag, affixed to it. And I think the second big thing was, on a macro level, education is one thing that really provides mobility, Shruti, to so many families, especially in India. It really,
Yeah.
really can change and transform lives. And we've seen that firsthand through the parents and students we work with, right? You get a degree, your ability to get a job, right? Your ability to provide for the family. So both of those elements really came together for me.
Yeah. I agree with you, and I think we can see that change in India with families now having kids who are well educated, maybe with a foreign degree or with a degree from a big Indian institution, and getting into startups, and having this whole culture in India. We can really, really see that change as to how education is bringing a change in the mindset and bringing in the change of economic mobility and lots of other things. So yes, I completely agree with you there. We spoke about parents, and on that note, I want to ask you, how can parents and students benefit from the service? I mean, we clearly understand the macro level of the benefit that they will gain, but anything else that you want to throw light on as to how students and parents can fully benefit from the services provided by EduFund?
Oh, great question. I think one of the most important tools that we have is a cost calculator
Okay.
that helps you get the future cost estimate of your degree, both in India or abroad. We look at about 10 countries globally, including
Mm.
India, both at the undergraduate and postgraduate level across 6 to 7 specialization from arts, engineering, etc. So you get that future price estimate of what that is going to look like today, 5 years from today, 10 years from today. I think there is nothing more important than knowing what that cost is going to look like, because that is your first point to start
Mm.
preparing, right? What is that, tuition fee going to look like? What are these accommodation costs going to look like, right? And we factor in all of that stuff. So I would say, first, go check out that tool for your own benefit. And then from there, like I mentioned earlier, we put together a personalized plan. So maybe
Mm.
you're a student looking to go and get a master's right away. Okay, you have that cost estimate. We'll come in and help you with, 90% of the loan if that's what you need, or 100% of the
Okay.
loan if that's what you need.
Okay.
Maybe, your child is in the 11th standard and, you're thinking of sending them abroad for postgrad or for undergrad. We help you understand what your savings should look like against the loan component, etc. So I would say one free service that you should avail right away is please look at the cost calculator.
Great. Yeah. I think we'll just put some links of those service, the cost calendar that you're speaking about also in one of the segments. So thank you so much, Eela. This also makes me think how this will help the universities really, because most of the times scholarships is something that universities are so stretched. Even if it's a good student, they want to help the student getting funded, and scholarships is the only way they can help. With this fantastic, service that you have and you provide to Indian students and parents, how do you think universities globally can benefit from these services?
So I think at the end of the day, look, universities want families and students that also have the financial intent and
Mhm.
clarity to be able to pay for this tuition fee, right?
Mhm.
So just as much as they're investing in the students, they want to make sure that, hey, you're going to complete the degree, you actually want this, you can be able to afford it. I would imagine the last thing any university wants is to see a student have to leave, the program midway because of a lack of fees, right? And I understand that this has been a challenge for so many students. I know, a handful of stories that have been passed down to me about students literally midway having to leave. And some have reached out to me from very prestigious institutions saying, I couldn't afford it. What do I do? And
Mhm.
you will be surprised at how many times that happened. So, coming back to your question, a university wants a student who's ready to be funded, who, has that collateral, so
Yeah.
whether it's a savings or a loan. And I think that's what we really bring to the table. Definitely on the savings side, right? Because, like I said, we are trying to help parents accumulate this financial asset to be able to pay for their child's education. And if they do it for the next 5, 10, 12 years, you have a clear runway of how much you can actually afford,
Yeah.
which I think is really beneficial to a university. And, on the loan side, we work closely with all the top lenders and look at every student's profile and case individually and really rally behind them to get them to that university so that university also has, that understanding and assurance in some respects that the loan is going to come through for the tenure of their education. So, in a way, I think of us as a safety net, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think my other perspective is from a university's point of view, they will start seeing less students dropping out or getting transferred to other smaller universities, which are probably cheaper. So that helps the student to continue their education. As you rightly said, it's a safety net for the university. So, it's a win-win at every end. Um,
Absolutely.
Great, Eela. So the next thing I wanted to ask you is that if you want to give that one solid advice to, say, parents or school counselors or other influencers, which are so important in a student decision-making journey, what would that one advice be?
Please don't wait. Find out the cost today, whatever that may be, whether you're going to that university or you're applying for the next fall cycle or you're 5 years out, you're 7 years out. Please don't wait to financially prepare or at least financially educate yourself on that cost. That is the starting point to figuring out how am I going to make this dream of mine come true, which you really, really don't want to wait until the last minute to figure out because it will impact, a whole host of things. It's tied
Mm.
to almost everything, including your visa application and
Yes.
whether you get approved or rejected, right? Which is something that doesn't get talked about often, right? But it impacts everything. So please, 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 please don't wait. That's my one advice.
That's great advice. And I think so very important, especially when you are planning for a foreign education. Why wait? Find out all the financial know-hows in advance.
Yes, or even scholarships for that matter, right? I mean, start doing your due diligence, seeing what scholarships are available for you to apply to. You will thank me later, I promise.
Super. So, Eela, the next thing I want to understand is other than supporting students with loans, are there any post-disbursement services that you help students with?
Yes, we do. So, like I mentioned earlier, we have education financing plus, plus, plus.
Right.
So, what we do there is we understand that a student would have needs beyond a loan, right? Maybe they need help with the visa, maybe they need help with accommodation,
Hmm.
traveling abroad, the insurance component. So, we are in effect a marketplace for all of those additional services, and we have vetted partners, that we've taken the time to really understand and bring onto our platform so that navigating that journey for a student is so much easier, right?
Mhm.
And so they don't have to spend excess time going and doing a lot of their research on their own. Because one thing about, the education abroad market and planning for that is it's very fragmented, right? So
Mhm.
someone would be, helping you with the visa. Someone would have insurance, both travel and health. Someone would be helping with a loan. There's
Yeah.
other players for accommodation. We want to kind of demystify that entire, challenge by bringing it onto one platform. So yes, we do help with a lot of other things as well.
That's great to hear. So, a student coming to you is definitely going to be benefited by a host of other services.
Yes.
Great, Ela. So this brings me to the last question where I'd like to hear from you about the partnership with Bridge Education. Even though I very briefly spoke about it at the beginning of the conversation, it'll be great to hear more from you.
Yes. So we're very thrilled about the partnership and to be able to support Whitebridge on the education financing side, especially for students that are looking for loans, and lending solutions to make those dreams a reality, both, on the undergraduate and postgraduate level. And I think very similar to the philosophy of Whitebridge, which is helping students find kind of the best fit university for them.
Mhm.
We also want to help students and families with the best fit financing option. And what I will reiterate over and over again is no two student or no two families plan is ever going to look the same, right? The options that you take to finance that education, just as you would to apply and pick a university that's the best fit for you, are going to be very different. And so I think there is a lot of mirroring in our
Yeah.
philosophy of really finding that best fit package. And that's why I'm so excited, to work with you all because, we really resonate with that very
Yeah.
deeply.
So are we, all of us at Bridge Education. I'm really, really excited to work with you and your team, Ela. On this note, thank you so much. It was fun chatting with you today morning, and I wish we have
Likewise.
more such mornings every week, every month.
Yes, yes, we should aspire to definitely do that. And I look forward to chatting with you again. And thank you so much for having me. And I hope, students and families can take something away from this, which is to start now.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ela. You have a good day ahead.
You too, Shruti. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Bye.